Hello, good morning, and Happy New Year. You are welcome to Universal Heritage Television Nigeria. We are glad to bring you another edition of our Matter of Concern program. Today, we are going to talk about Christians in Nigerian politics. To discuss this matter is a strong Anglican faithful. His name is John Isioji. Mr. John, you are welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
Mr. John has planted some churches in the Anglican Communion and is a very good, passionate Christian. My name is Afam Echi. I'm going to co-present with
Iwuna Monachi. Hello and welcome to Matter of Concern on Universal Heritage Television Nigeria.
Okay, remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube platform. We welcome you once again to the program. Mr. John, do you think Christians have been fairly represented in Nigerian politics, in governance actually?
Yeah, I would say yes. I would say yes. Although I would have loved us to define Christianity so that when we're talking about Christians, what do we mean by who is a Christian, and so that we'll be able to know. But I think if it has to do with demography, people who go to church, people from certain churches, or well, I'll say the answer is yes, they have been.
Demographically, that's what we are looking at.
Okay.
Yes. So whoever goes to church is associated with Christianity, is a believer in Jesus Christ, and that is what, for the purpose of this discussion, people will refer to as Christians.
I would like to understand what you mean by being fairly represented, Christians being fairly represented in governance. Are you asking based on the allocation of resources, or Christians being represented as candidates in governance? Okay,
I'm talking in terms of both opportunities given to Christians. I'm talking in terms of welfare.
Okay. I'm
talking in terms of whatever it is, security, whatever it is that is necessary to benefit from governance.
Okay.
Well, I'll look at it from the angle. Yes, from the history of the country, we're looking at representation, resources. The answer is yes, but the recent times, the answer is no.
Okay. The answer is no. Yeah, because there are a lot of concern, there are a lot of issues playing out there in society. People talk about bad governance, corruption, on all ills of politics, and the actors of these things come from the Christian community, because those who are governing us, especially from this part of the country, are all Christians. Yet we don't have what we should get from government. It's a thing of concern. So who should be blamed? Is it wrong to conclude that Christians have not help themselves?
Well, at some point you may blame the church in the sense that the church has not been able to produce quality leaders. For instance, if you attend the church or the Christian, it's assumed that Jesus must have touched your life. Christianity tends to, in fact, a good Christian should make a good leader, so to speak, So sometimes I want to blame the church for not really giving us the best. Secondly, I also want to look at it from the angle that it goes beyond the church. It's a societal thing. Leadership. It's something, it's like a culture, it's like people's culture. Leadership is something you train leaders, make them conscious of it. They know what leadership is all about, what it means to be in governance. And when they go there, they deliver. But we have this society at the moment that personal interests seem to override every other. So that's why they are not really delivering, so to speak.
Okay. Now, some Christian globally, democracy is recognized everywhere. But here in Nigeria, some Christian groups, I wouldn't want to mention denomination, exclude themselves from partisan politics. They neither play politics nor vote. or vote for express interest in our democracy. Now, is that right?
Well, that's why it all depends on belief. I know the people we are talking about, we are not going to mention them, but their argument is that they are in this world, but they do not belong to this world. And they are believing that God is going to establish his own kingdom very soon. And that if you put your hand in worldly politics, you're going to soil yourself. That's good. But if you look at the thing...
No, he said that is good.
No, when I mean...
Is it really good?
Okay, no, you see, when I mean that is good, that's what they believe in. But to the contrary, if you look at scriptures very well, you will see where Paul was, I think it's Romans chapter 11 or 13 or there, 11 or 13, where he was talking about government. So in book of, I can't really bring it up hand now, but it says respect government, pay your tax, because God is the one that established government for a purpose. So as far as we are in this world, there must be need for human beings to interact. The society has evolved, and scientists told us that before the advent of the organized society, that it was a law of the jungle. There was chaos. You can do anything you want to do, you know. But when government came into place, when society came into place, there was need to establish peace and order. Civilization we're talking about, the law we're talking about, order is a function of government. So anybody who says I'm not going to participate, I don't think that person is being sincere, because you must do something definitely. However, on their own, what they're saying, we don't want to be leaders, we don't want to select, we want to remain in our own enclave as our faith dictates. But I think they need to go beyond that. That's what I feel.
Like a lot of Christians partake in political apathy, and it doesn't really make sense to me, because as a Christian, I've heard a lot of my fellow Christians say that God is going to fight their battles. But gone are the days when God sends fire to take away the enemies of his people. This time around, you are meant or expected to fight for yourself. Indulge or engage in political activities, vote, or try to be voted for, and every other thing that has to do with politics. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to indulge in the vices of politics. You understand? So I think Christians need to embrace or understand that doing your civil duties doesn't take you away from your faith. Because if they're not careful, their faith might determine their fate, either negatively or positively.
Okay. Now, there is this contest for power. There's no way you can rule out religion in our politics. Both are intertwined. Now, Christians are being on the receiving end, especially members of the various churches. They are the ones who suffer from lack of payment of salaries, lack of provision of infrastructure, and so many other things. Now, do you see anything wrong for Christians to float their own parties? Because given the number of Christians in this country, if you look at some of the mega churches, whether it is Living Faith, Deeper Life, Redeem, and the rest of it, they all muster huge number of Christians. What is wrong in forming a party and taking their destiny in their own hands? Because if they're able to access power, they can do better than they expect of others.
Okay, the Nigeria is a secular state, and it is expected that everything will come in that direction. However, churches or Christians, nobody is preventing them from floating their own political parties. But I want to believe that it will sound better if we look at it from Christians forming or floating pressure groups that could determine who takes the mantle of leadership. By also projecting, not necessarily Christianity, but projecting what do we want? In what way can we get the best? Who is the best candidate? We say this is what we want. This is the best thing for Nigeria at a time like this, and they support such candidate. If we do that, definitely this country is going to change. But if you make the mistake of floating a political party, I can tell you it's not going to work. With the level of divisions, with the level of I know better than you, even Khan, when you look at Khan, Kano, where he's saying this, so you discover that it can't work. Definitely it can't work. And let me put it quickly that our call, Christianity, what Jesus told us, the mandate is I think Mark 16, the latter part of it, where he said, go ye into the world and preach the gospel. So anytime the church leave preaching this gospel and go into the politics, I'm sure that'll be the end of it. However, the nature of a state, of the nation, can also determine if that is what needs to be done to save lives and to make sure that there's peace, unity, development, then there's no problem, provided they have what it takes to do so.
Based on what you asked, something occurred to me. Mr. John earlier said that the church is to be blamed for producing bad leaders, bad Christian leaders. So I want to ask, a lot of Christians, I've seen a lot of Christians say they will vote for a particular candidate based on the religious group. Maybe as a Christian, I would like to vote for a Christian. Do you think it's right to vote for a fellow Christian, even though you know or you've seen that this particular candidate doesn't portray good leadership qualities? Do you think it makes sense for a Christian to vote a fellow Christian based on religion instead of on leadership qualities? Do you think it makes sense?
It all depends on the nature of the politics that is being played. For example, in Nigeria, it's important for you to consider the religion of a candidate. It's important, but not the most important and the only thing. Why I said so is because Nigeria is religion. Religion is Nigeria. If Nigeria has grown to the point where people's religion has nothing to do with the delivery of the dividends of democracy, fine. But at the moment, it is important because religion, at most times, in fact, religion determines who becomes what in Nigerian politics. For instance, we see a situation where, for instance, if a Muslim wants to become the governor of Imo State now, you see kind of thing that will come up. It will be, assuming a Christian wants to be the governor of Kano State. So these things are there. We can't pretend as if they are not there. But however, at some point, you have to consider everything, put everything on the table, look at it, and then you may choose the lesser evil. But to say religion does not matter in Nigeria, no, is a lie. But to use it as the only yardstick, no, that's not proper.
Okay, let us look at a specific issue in the Christian leadership. The priests, the pastors, they shy away from running for political office. And you try to justify it because, according to you said, the Bible said, go ye and preach the gospel. Now, there is this Catholic priest in Benue State, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, who pulled away from the pulpit and ventured into politics and is running for a governorship position in his state. And he is lamenting and saying, look, enough of the rubbish in his state. The state is supposed to grow bigger and better than it is now, but it is nowhere, given the natural endowments in the state. Now, do you find anything wrong in that? Why is there this apathy among priests, among pastors, to run for political office? So that they will have opportunity to demonstrate what they are telling people, what they are teaching, and then ensure good governance for the people. They cannot be having all those qualities, all those strength, all those capacity, and yet the people that are shepherding are suffering.
Yeah. On the surface, there's nothing wrong for a pastor or a priest, a minister of the gospel, going into politics, taking responsibility, as a political leader. There's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, if it is a good platform for a pastor to become a governor and then lead by example. Do you understand? Leading by example. There's nothing wrong with it. However, the issue is this: making sure that you are called be sure that you're not going there to do religion, because what makes you a good governor is not being a good pastor. So there are two different, kettle of fish. So make sure you have what it takes, and by the time you enter there, it's not going to be my church, my member, my set thing. You are now going to be everybody's pastor. There are, it's something that can be done. However, remember, your first priority is to carry Jesus along with you. So even if you get there, you'll make sure that as you're doing your work, you're not also getting distracted. But let me tell you one more thing. The Nigerian politics, in Nigeria, is the dirty politics. We've been saying that, and as days go by, even as you try to say it is not, it is. Now, when a pastor wants to go into politics, the question is which party? All major parties in Nigeria, it's difficult for you to produce a candidate without some level of compromise. As a pastor, how are you going to do it? After you must have compromised in one way or the other, how will you come out and tell them this, that you're not stained? So many people are afraid of being stained. But however, if there are platforms that you can use and it works, that's why I'm happy this electronic voting, is coming on. Once people are sure that their votes will count, I'm sure this thing will be a thing of the past.
Okay. I kind of see it as based on the level of responsibility. A lot of pastors will say that engaging in politics and religion will be energy sapping and demanding, kind of. So, because the Nigerian politics is already demanding, it's energy sapping, it's time consuming. So, do you think it will be possible for them to engage in politics as well as serve God faithfully? Do you think it's going to be possible? To me, I don't see it as being possible. This is the reason why a lot of them shy away from indulging in engaging in politics as well as, carrying out their roles as pastors or priests. To me, that's what I feel like.
If you ask me, it is possible. Very, very possible. Let's be honest to ourselves. You see, when a church becomes institutionalized, you will come to a point where, what we call church today is branches lumping together. Let me use Anglican as an example. You have chapels. From chapel, you go to parish to archdeaconry to diocese, and a diocese you have a bishop. From there, you have archdiocese. From how you have the province. Now, you see, that is a man-made platforms for the services of God. I can tell you that no matter how busy, whatever you discover as a pastor, it's all about you touching lives. You see, the way some churches are structured, you discover that the pastors, in fact, most bishops, they don't even preach. They just do. They build a personage, they can dedicate. They confirmation. They just do more like ceremonial things. That core thing of preaching and prayer, they don't have time for it again. Are you getting hard place of meeting because the church is big? Now, nobody's indispensable. It's about 4 years or 8 years. So you have an assistant. Even if you die, won't somebody take over from you?
That's true.
So it's all about saying, I have this quality, I can deliver. You leave that and hand over to somebody and then do this thing. But also be careful. Because most times it's not. Make sure God is the one telling you to go into it. Otherwise, it's like leaving your first love, leaving the major reason why you are called and you're going into. But at some point, you can carry the two. All you need to do is to have strike a good balance.
Yeah, drawing from what you said, the reason why Christians suffer in politics is because they are excluded. All of these reasons we are profiling why Christians should not do this. They talk about compromise, talk about lack of time and the rest of it. And that is why the wrong people get into politics and undo them. And again, drawing from what you said, if you look at the leadership structure in the church is so organized in a way, and the leadership hierarchy is respected, and things work out well. Some of these Pentecostal churches are very good, massive, in their number, and they run business empires, successfully. They have universities, they run hospitals, they run factories, they run so many other things. The same thing you can find in governance. So the contention that Christians are not changing themselves by not participating, because if they are going to bring these leadership qualities they possess, which they use in running their church. Look at the Catholic Church, for example. You know, globally, it's a successful, the biggest organization, whether you look at it from the point of business or religion and whatever, they are doing very, very well. Yeah. So why don't they bring these same qualities, talents, skills they have into governance? It will help a lot of persons. That is the why people are saying, why are Christians not actually taking a grip, taking their destiny in their hands?
Let me say this. See, since the creation of Imo State, maybe minus few military men who may not be Christians, I can tell you that 90% of those who have ruled Imo States are Christians. Because we already have a working definition.
Yes.
Good. If you come to the history of Nigeria, we have the Obasanjos, we have Gowon, and so on and so forth. Good. And that's how it is in most of the states, maybe except at the core north, you know. See, if these people were real, were truly Christians, by now we should be getting something better. So I don't know the Christians again we're expecting to be in politics. That's why I said that working definition. A Christian that has a touch of Christ in him, that has a relationship, that can sit down and hear the voice of the Holy Spirit and say, hey, why are you carrying this 1 billion naira? Don't carry it. Use it and do this. I say, oh Lord, I'm sorry. That's who is a Christian. And that's the people are asking, come into politics. Let me tell you to the contrary. There is no assurance too that even pastors, if the general overseer of becomes the governor of Imo State, that we're going to get a delivery of dividends. No, it doesn't work like that. See, it is all about leadership. You see, have a proper definition. What do we want? How are we going to get it done? Who has the capacity? Religious leaders, they are a little bit, to be a religious is easier than being the contemporary. The bishop of a church, once he carry his staff and put it there, say, I make a declaration. I now declare one particular church, and I declare you an archdeacon or whatever. That is it. Do you understand? That is it. But in democracy, in government, in politics, it goes beyond that. Most churches don't have manifesto. Do you understand? Most bishops, it's just business as usual. People come in, people go out. It all depends on what the bishop wants to do. So what I'm trying to say is that I think our major concern is that, or we will put it this way, most Christians that have been in politics or in government are not good leaders.
Okay.
If they are good leaders, definitely they would have delivered. That is what I think is the core thing.
Okay. Now let us look at this issue. Most Christians pray for our leaders, and all of the wrong things that are happening in the society, they will ask their congregation to pray against it, to pray for the leaders. It will appear as if prayer is the key to the no and trying to turn things around. But the more we have continued to pray, the more things keep going wrong. How do you reconcile that? Should there not be a different approach?
Yeah, that reminds me. Many years ago, as a young boy, I have this man who used to do Bible study with me, a man from the Jehovah's Witnesses, this guy. He keeps telling me, John, my son, I'll answer. He will say, things are getting worse and worse. So let me borrow his language. Yeah, the more we pray, it looks as if things are getting worse and worse. I have two approaches to this question. The reality on ground is that we are running a democracy on 4-year levels. And the only way you can change government is not by prayer alone. It is by taking a quality decision and then going to the polls and also defending your poll. Now, the area of prayer could have a short-term and a long-term effect. Now, we will pray because Bible says that the heart of the king, I think in Proverbs chapter 18, 19, around that side, is in the heart of the Lord. He turns it anyhow he wants it. So the idea of prayer is that one our votes cannot do, that one our protests cannot do. Let the Spirit of God deal with that leader. Let him do something. That's it. But the bottom line is this: you have every 4 years to allow God to use you to answer that prayer. But the major challenge in this country is we will pray, we will cry. But when they say the next governor of Imo State is coming from Beri, where I hail from, automatically, whether he's a 419er or a man who doesn't have precedence, for me, let my brother enter there. Because if he enters there, I'm sure becoming a commissioner and all that. So because of it, all Mbiri, Mbitoli, Ikeduru, or what is zone were like, take it. Nobody remember that prayer. We were saying, oh God, give us a righteous man. Give us a man after your own heart. This time around, we were saying, let it be from my. So that is why it looks as if that prayer is not working, because we are also contradicting our prayers. But I want to believe that on the long run, looking at this present election that is going to take place, I want to believe God really answers prayers. For the first time, our campaigns and is moving from talking rubbish to issue-based campaign.
You appear to sound so optimistic about the election that there's going to be some changes. What are you, is your optimism anchored?
Okay, you see, our Nigerian democracy is progressive. Sometimes we talk about American own, but it wasn't like this from the beginning. If you look at Nigerian politics, it has always been anything goes. But the people are growing. We have come to a point to where it is so clear to the Igbo man, to the Fulani man, to the Hausa man, to the Yoruba man, that voting for my brother will not help me. Empirically speaking, we have come to a point where our ethnicity has failed us. Statistically speaking. So we are now in a crossroad to do the proper decision. That's where we are right now. So I'm optimistic. Number one, even the politicians have realized that the PVC is important. They've come to a point to where they are now asking for it. Before, they don't do that now.
I don't even care.
You understand? Every politician knows that it's no longer business as usual. So that is why people of goodwill, people of integrity are also coming in, believing that this is our time.
Afam, let me go back to the question you asked him previously before this current question. I just want to chip in something. Christians say prayers move mountains, which is true. Prayers do move mountains. But the truth is, I think it's time churches begin to take up political education for their congregation. They need to start, though some churches are already doing that, but they need to start making it very important in doing their service or masses or whatever you can call it, to impact political education into their congregation, because I think prayer alone cannot change the story or the situation we are in already. So they need to start inculcating political education to their congregation.
Okay, political education is very key, and I hope it relates to picking it. Now, Mr. John, we usually swear in our leaders with the books, the Bible and the Quran, and believing that will guide them to do the right things. But over time, we have discovered that It doesn't deter them from stealing us blind and doing all of the negative things, and every time we have kept doing the same thing. Should we continue like this? And there are no alternatives we can prefer, swearing in leaders who do not respect the books, because the books do not talk, cannot do anything, and they run roughshod over us, and then bad governance continues.
I want to believe that we call it swearing in ceremony. So I want to look at it purely as a ceremonial thing, using the Bible signify that, a Christian is coming in, and the other way around, a Muslim is coming in. Swearing anybody in with the books does not guarantee good governance. At least we have seen it. The essence of swearing in somebody is very clear: ceremony. But what will come after it is a different ball. The Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And there are people you say you cannot give what you don't have. It doesn't.
Should I remind you? Let me remind you at this point that you see it as a ceremony. Yes, a ceremony, but it has its significance. That is oath taking. They are swearing an oath to be of good
conduct and to protect.
Yes.
And to do according to the Constitution
of the land.
That's what I'm telling you.
And again, it is believed that at the end they say, "So help me God." It is believed that there are consequences to their actions, and if you relate this to what we do traditionally, when people are sworn with the deities, it keeps them in check. But when you swear people with the Bible or the books, nothing happens.
Swearing people in with deities.
Yes.
During our forefathers, it worked.
Yes, it worked.
But now, even if you bring the deities, I don't think it's also going to work. Why because the antidotes are there. You see, there used to be a time when deities were taking palm wine. At some point, they graduated to seamen. So if you bring Hennessy now, and those days, our forefathers, they pour a little bit of it, and the deities will be, we are hearing. But I'm sure, with the kind of politicians we have now, they bring 1 carton of cognac and pour it on the head of our ancestors, and they'll sleep off, and they'll continue what they are doing. I don't see it making any difference, because you see, man is bigger. The man is so big that he can manipulate anything he wants to manipulate, even down to our ancestors.
Drawing from what you said, what also baffles me, are you aware that all these, the politicians you said that the deities will not work because they will manipulate it, the same politicians also assess these deities to do the wrong things.
Beautiful. That's okay. Go ahead.
To do the wrong things, they do to get to power. So when they say it will not work, if it will work this way, why will it not work that way?
Fine. You see, a man goes to a deity and sacrifices blood or whatever. Please make me the governor of Imo State. And the deity makes him the governor. And remember, these deities are different ones. Exactly. Now, there are different levels. Okay? This particular one will kill you if you steal. You will not steal. But some other person will steal the money for you. Do you understand? You will not put your hand in the coffers of the state. But your PAs, your SAs, they will gather those things and pack somewhere for you. Contracts will be inflated, not even, and so on and so forth. It's only God Almighty who is in a position, but He's merciful. He's merciful. But let me tell you something, that most of those people who kept us in a situation like this, check it very well, they are not better off than us. Most of them died miserably. God has a way of punishing the unjust.
True.
So I want to believe that if involving the deities, yes, may have some level of advantage, but that may not really solve
the problem totally, but rather we holding our leaders responsible every 4 years. I'm sure they'll sit up.
Like I mentioned earlier. Now, what are your expectations from Christians in the coming election? What do you expect them to do to change the narrative for themselves?
I will expect them to look at the options available and vote objectively. I want them to come out in mass, speak with one voice at different places with different PVCs. Vote. I want them to know that their vote counts and must count this time around. And I also want them to know that God will also hold them responsible if they do not carry out their own civic duty. You see, the principle has always been do your own and allow God to do. Failure to do your own, then you don't have any locus to stand before God and say, oh God, this man is doing us this man is doing that. No. Let that be a change. And that change, God is expecting us to be in front, and then He'll follow us behind.
Thank you so much. Muna,
like I've said earlier on that the mantle of responsibility lies on the churches to inculcate political education to their congregation, because a lot of persons don't know. The belief they had from childhood is that they should pray, God is going to answer. But this time around, the world is changing. They need to understand that this time around is not just left for God to do. You need to be involved. So take away political apathy, get involved in politics, do your civil duties, and everything is going to fall into place. And like I would always want to say, even as a Christian, you shouldn't vote for. I don't want to say this and maybe go contrary to what we've been saying earlier, but vote for the right candidate. Vote for that person you believe is going to deliver the dividends of democracy to the people, so you don't end up suffering for the next 4 years or 8 years. Thank you.
Yeah, viewers, here we round off the program. Remember to stay with us till sometime next week. John, thank you so much for your contributions.
My pleasure.
Muna.
You're most welcome. Thank you, viewers, for sticking with us and staying with us.
Please remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much.